The New York Giants got their first win of the season going into Cleveland, taking on Deshaun Watson and the Browns, and they came out victorious. While Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys fell just short to Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. Both were great games, good performances. But in this Thursday Night Football matchup, Dak Prescott will be flying up to New York to take on Daniel Jones and the Giants. We're going to break down the game, the matchups within the game, and also provide our predictions at the end. But before we get into that, be sure to subscribe to the Tracy Take if you have not already. Leave a like and a comment. Let us know who you think is going to win. We're trying to get to 100 new subscribers within this week, within the Week 4 picture videos. So any help is greatly appreciated. So subscribe if you have not already. And Ryan, so I'll come out and say this. I was coming into this video initially before these games started saying that there's going to be a disappointing loss for one of the teams and then a good win against a solid team. I wasn't expecting it to be in the reverse order that I initially thought, where the Giants actually, they looked good. I mean, Deshaun Watson was they made Deshaun Watson and all Browns fans question why they traded for him to begin with, signed the big contract. And I thought the defense looked great. Daniel Jones and Malik Nabers are starting to build that connection. I know you're a fantasy owner of Malik Nabers, so
yes,
really seeing that. And on the flip side as well, the Dallas Cowboys, they look great in the fourth quarter. And I think all Cowboys fans are wanting that type of play because I think one of the things I'll get to here in a second is just a concerning trend of just this defense and just really no resistance kind of whatsoever, especially in the first half of the games. So I kind of want to throw it over to you, though, first. What are kind of your thoughts on this team, on these teams now through 3 weeks of the season?
Yeah, I thought the Giants impressed me this week, definitely against a good defense in the Cleveland Browns, but Malik Nabers made a lot of good plays. Daniel Jones showed some consistency in the passing game, but as well moving the ball with his feet as well, just kind of continue drives. And all in all, it was just a good all-around performance, I think, from this Giants team. Go look at some of the pressure, like the pressure rates, and I think they had 9 sacks against the Browns today, so 8 sacks. And just an absolutely abysmal offensive line performance by Cleveland. Also, I want to give the Giants credit for making the Browns offensive line look that bad, because this has been a fairly good offensive line throughout the past few years. I know they started the season a little banged up with injuries, but Giants, Kayvon Thibodeau, Brian Burns, both guys had a pretty good game. So Dexter Lawrence in the middle as well. Like they have a lot of pieces on that defense. I think this is definitely a defense that is very formidable. This offense, if they can just even be like league average, I think this is a potential 500 like wild card contender team. It's just, can this offense keep up this performance as the season goes on? And then kind of on the flip side, Dallas had a really good week 1 performance against the same Cleveland Browns. A very shaky at best performance in week 2 against the New Orleans Saints. And then an up and down performance against the Ravens. They ended on a high note, going down and making that only a 3-point loss and scoring 19 unanswered points. But still too little too late. This defense, I think, really got gashed early on with the run game. They allowed 150 yards to Derrick Henry with 2 touchdowns. And so all in all, like, this is just I think there's a formula to beat the Dallas Cowboys right now. Can the Giants do that? I think is the question.
Yeah. No, it's definitely the Giants, even kind of with going back to what their loss in week 2 to the Commanders. It still was, I mean, they were able to keep them out of the end zone. They did give up a lot of yards, yes, but you were able to contain them to a lot of field goals. And the Giants and the offense, it's kind of looking back, kind of like there were still strides, kind of taking in the right step, like this very early on in the season. And it's very easy to, especially for us YouTubers, literally this video is coming out on Monday, so like Monday morning quarterbacks, to just be like, oh, like this team sucks like 2-3 weeks into the season. Like, it's still September. It's a long way. And so who knows? Maybe we'll have to see. Let's kind of get into this game here, this Thursday Night Football matchup, and some of the matchups, kind of diving in the game. But before we do that, if you do like to put a couple of bucks down on Cowboys and Giants game, check the link down below to BetUS. They have a bunch of great promotions going on right now for first-time players. And kind of throughout the week, this is going to be interesting. Kind of curious to see who the favorite is going to be, just because it's Giants did look impressive on the road, while the Cowboys now have had 2 back-to-back home losses. And I know today they only lost by 3, but it really kind of was almost like a blowout loss. Like it was desperation mode, 28-6. And Baltimore, again, almost blew the game. So,
yeah.
I mean,
I saw a stat. They've had 10 7+ point fourth quarter leads that they've blown since 2021. That's wild.
Yeah. So, like, they almost did it again. So, take this with a grain of salt as it was a blowout loss because I know they lost by 3, but like it was desperation, and Baltimore almost handed it to them. But
yeah,
the matchup to me, I think, is just going to be curious. Is just going to be it's really just this Dallas Cowboys defense because I think Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb, they're going to get theirs. But I think it's going to be, can this Cowboys defense make Daniel Jones look like the Daniel Jones that we were all joking about? Or are they not going to give them time? Are the New York Giants going to be allowed to have their balanced offense that they want to have, which today they did. Daniel Jones, 34 passes. They had 32 carries, very balanced offense. They got ahead, allowed Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence, Kayvon Thibodeau, as you talked about, to pin their ears back. It's going to be a fun matchup. Also, too, this defensive front for the Giants versus then the Cowboys offensive line. And so I think, can this Cowboys defense put up enough? Can they figure something out here? Because it's the more and more it looks like it, the more and more like the loss of Dan Quinn and some of these other pieces are really showing the kind of how crucial those pieces were last season.
Yeah, and I'll even get a little bit more specific in those matchups. So Brian Burns lined up over the left tackle a lot today. That's Tyler Guyton for the Dallas Cowboys. How does a rookie in his 4th start handle an experienced veteran who's one of the top edge rushers in the league? I don't want to say he's like a top 5 guy, but he's in that elite pass rusher range. And then also like Micah Parsons over Jermaine Illuminor at that right tackle spot for the Giants. That's another really big matchup. Can those guys win on the offensive line? Can they win their respective matchups? And if they do allow these edge rushers to take over the game, it's going to be a 13-6 like knockout brawl in the trenches.
Well,
so,
and absolutely, because it's one of the things too as well is, and we're talking about kind of like if the Giants offense can be just average, they kind of are. And so they're right now through 3 games, 22nd overall in total offensive yards, 18 passing yards, 19th in rushing yards. And so, but when it comes to the Cowboys, this is what's interesting about it. 9th overall in total yards, 1st overall in passing yards. And that's honestly not surprising because they've been down decent bit the past 2 weeks. Well, most of the last 2 weeks. Rushing wise, though, and this is going to be the stat kind of going back to what you were talking about, where it's going to have these edge rushers, is Dallas can't run the ball. They're 29th overall right now in rushing yards per game. And it's very early on, yes. And also some of that stat can be because they were down significantly, especially today and also last week. So how much were they really trying to run the ball?
Also, the Browns have a good run defense in their blowout win.
Yeah. But on top of that, though, I do question, can the Cowboys actually run the ball? I mean, they just have Zeke and Rico Dowdle. They have this kind of newer offensive line. And if the Giants continue to be average offense, like what you're talking about, and we say average statistically, obviously, like they're going to be able to move the ball down the field. Malik Nabers is being extremely effective with his 2 touchdown game, and I expect him to also get a lot of looks as well. But statistically, they're average, which is a massive improvement compared to what they were last year. So, can the Cowboys defense try and like be the defense that was last year? Can they figure this stuff out, or are they still going to give up a lot of passing yards, a lot of rushing yards to this kind of improved Giants offense? And if the Cowboys get behind, they're going to become super one-dimensional. And they're already, to be honest, I think kind of one-dimensional to begin with, even though they have been behind the past couple of games.
Yeah, and one thing, too, the Cowboys really struggled with Zay Flowers. And I know there's differences in their game, but Malik Nabers does remind me a little bit of like a juiced-up Zay Flowers. And so I think that matchup with him and Trayvon Diggs is going to be very interesting. Just can they get him in one-on-one matchups in space? And can they
Let's be fair, though, also when you play the Ravens, you got to try and stop the run. And as we saw today, they couldn't stop the run. Yeah. With the Giants, Devin Singletary's having a solid season. He had a good game today, 16 carries, 65 yards, and a touchdown. And so they had 112 rushing yards total as a team. So it's not going to be as big a threat. But also, if we're being completely honest, what other team is as big a threat rushing the ball than Baltimore? To be completely fair.
Yeah, no, that's very fair, and you have to stack the box against them with Derrick Henry and Lamar. So let's go ahead and get into our predictions here. Tyler, I'm going to throw it over to you to kick off Week 3. Who do you have coming out ahead in this NFC East matchup?
Well, I would say I'm coming off my worst ever week in the Tracy Take right now with our predictions. I've gotten 4 picks right and still with 3 games left, and so I have nothing else to lose. I'm going to go with the Giants. And, let's see if I can kind of reverse this trend here. It's not just because of, they beat the Browns. I said it's more kind of me looking at this Cowboys defense and also this Cowboys offense. Like they're going to need to win in a shootout. And what's kind of interesting to me as well about this game, if we want to get kind of, what's the thing where with the crystals or whatnot, superstitious about this. Last year, all of the problems for the Giants I felt started again week 1. They were playing the Cowboys on the first Sunday Night Football game, had an amazing drive, first drive of the game, get down to the red zone. Then all of a sudden, nearly fumble, block, field goal that the Cowboys returned for a touchdown. And it's like that season was shot, like to begin with. I don't know what it was, but that was the moment. It was just like the season for the Giants was shot. I think this is going to be kind of a redemption game for them because last year was an absolute waste of time. And it felt like that was the moment right there, week 1, and everything went downhill because Daniel Jones got hurt shortly after that. Then the team just didn't look good at all. I think going against Brian Burns is a huge improvement, I think, to this defensive line, to this defense as a whole. They're going to go after Dak Prescott a bunch. The biggest thing, though, is can they just contain CeeDee Lamb and this Dak Prescott, like, throwing offense? And so if the Giants can get a lead, and if they can consistently kind of keep the Cowboys defense wondering, I think they have a really good shot to win this week.
I thought I was going to be going with the Giants in the long shot here. I like the matchup. Outside of Micah Parsons, I thought this Cowboys defense looked flat this week. And really last week, they just kind of looked deflated. And I didn't like really what I saw from Trayvon Diggs against Zay Flowers. I know he didn't have like this monstrous game, but in key situations, they were able to target Zay Flowers. And I think Malik Nabers will be able to kind of expose him a little bit. I really like I like the Micah Parsons on Jermaine Illuminor matchup. However, Brian Dabble has been scheming around one significant edge rusher his whole career. He's going to send a running back that way to Chip. He's going to have a tight end lined up over there, so he'll basically get a 2-on-1 blocking situation. Like he will find ways to kind of take Micah Parsons out of the game for the most part. And then I think you go look, can't really do that against the Giants because they have Dexter Lawrence in the middle, who even as big as he is can still get after the passer. Then you have Kayvon Thibodeau and Brian Burns on each edge. And it's like, you can't really line up a tight end over one of those guys because then the other guy is going to get a really favorable matchup. So yeah. I really like kind of what this Giants team has looked like. And I can't believe I'm saying this going into week 4. But I do think they have the potential to be a wild card playoff team. Whereas I feel like Dallas's only way to win is they're going to just turn this into a shootout. So you have to drop back and give Micah Parsons favorable matchups against your right tackle. And the Dallas Cowboys can send Dak Prescott back. Brandon Cooks can run these go balls. CeeDee Lamb can run underneath and like they can get the ball out that way. So I'm going to go with the Giants as well. I'm going to say 21-13.
I like it. I think I'll do 24-17.
24-17. Okay. So a few more touchdowns. I think the Giants are going to slow this game down a lot and be able to kind of control the pace with this defense. So let's go ahead, wrap it up here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below on who you think is going to come out ahead in this NFC East Thursday night football game. Will it be the Dallas Cowboys? Will it be the New York Giants? And other than that, we'll see you guys next time.